is talk about the main event for UFC Fight Night, Pedro Munhoz against Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar's debut fight at 135 pounds, and that is interesting, okay? Because now I like Frankie Edgar. Call me fucking nostalgic, call me a sentimental old fool, but Edgar has been around for a long time. I remember when he was going to fight BJ Penn for the first time. I thought, this dude has got no chance. BJ Penn, back then, right, believe it or not, guys, for those of you that are new to MMA, believe it or not, at that point, people thought that BJ Penn was one of the best in the world. I mean, how the mighty have fallen. I mean, I still have a lot of respect for BJ Penn, but these days, most MMA fans know BJ Penn as that joke of a guy that comes in and just gets battered every single time. No, because that's all he's done for the past, 5 years. But in 2012, BJ Penn was a fucking big deal. And when Frankie Edgar walked in and beat BJ Penn for the title, that was huge. That was ridiculous. And then they had the rematch, and I thought, surely Penn's going to get... And Edgar did the same thing again. Frankie Edgar is a fucking legit elite athlete. He is elite level. Now, he hasn't had the best run the past couple of years, but no, he is getting older. He's 38 years old now, Frankie Edgar. And he's had a hell of a career. And the problem I've always had with Frankie Edgar is that in all of his fights, because he's fought at lightweight and then he fought at featherweight, right? And this one is taking place at bantamweight. That's 135 pounds. Now, at the moment, bantamweight is a murderer's row. It really is. You've got your Garbrandts, you've got your Chito Veras, you've got your Sean O'Malley's, you've got... it's a murderer's row of just absolute killers. Your Peter Yans, your Jose Aldo's down there now. So there's a lot of very, very elite, tough guys down there. But Frankie Edgar, he can hang in there with any of them. And I'll tell you why. Because he's quick, he's got great wrestling, and his boxing is outstanding, his footwork is outstanding. He is so quick in and out, he's so busy, he keeps you guessing, his feints are brilliant, right? And when you look at Frankie Edgar's record, right, because you'd be forgiven for thinking, what, Frankie Edgar, he hasn't won in years. I don't think he's won since 2018. I believe his last win was against Yair Rodriguez. I could be wrong. Please let me know in the comments if I'm remembering that wrong. I'd be interested to know. I mean, I'll Google it after this, but I'm not going to refilm just for the sake of fixing that. But either way, I think Yair Rodriguez was his last win, which was an emphatic win. Everyone had written Edgar off by that point. Everyone I remember Edgar was a huge underdog in that, and I looked at that and I thought, fuck, well, Edgar's got excellent wrestling. He could just take this kid, which is what he did, to be fair, and he beat the fuck out of him. It was hilarious. So where's Yair now? Where you at, Yair? Where you at, John? Yair's fucking... Yair's whole career has basically fit into a fifth of Frankie Edgar's. Go fuck yourself, Yair. I'm kidding. I wish him all the best. Hopefully he... Because he keeps on seeming to never fight this Zabit character. Either way, that's a story for another time. Frankie Edgar, he only seems to get beaten by the absolute best, the cream of the crop, right? His last loss was to Korean Zombie, he lost to Holloway, he lost to Ortega. Now, he lost to Aldo. Now, Aldo's also come down to this weight class, but he's huge for this weight class. So, but look at Zombie, Holloway and Ortega. They're big guys, man. For I don't know, when you looked at them squared off, Edgar was just giving up so much size to all of it, and Yair as well. I think that 135 is the right weight class for Frankie, because you've got to bear in mind that when he was fighting BJ Penn for that lightweight title, there were no weight classes lower than that at the time. It's only been relatively recently that fighters can kind of go below the 155 pound mark. So he just had to fight all those bigger guys, and because he got to the belt and he won the belt and he was so dominant for so long and had such a good career at 155 against those bigger guys, you'd be forgiven. You got to forgive him for thinking that that's where he belongs. He doesn't. He belongs at 135, really. When you look at his stature, when you look at his actual size, he is a 135 all day, because this is one of the first times I've seen him at a weigh-in where he doesn't look completely oversized and outmatched. He has, in fact, got a whopping 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. And that could be significant, actually, because Frankie Edgar, he's very quick and he's very good at moving around. And if he can just stick a move and keep jabbing this guy, jab his face off like he did to BJ Penn, with a reach advantage, I don't see how Munhoz gets him. Do you know what I mean? If Frankie Edgar fights smart enough, he could avoid Munhoz and just cruise his way to a decision, which is where I see this one going. I see it going to a Frankie Edgar decision. But that's no disrespect to Pedro Munhoz. Pedro Munhoz is a killer in his own right. Now, there's the submissions on here. Yeah, I forgot to even look at what the odds for the submissions were. I'll Google them and I'll put them on the screen right here. So this is the odds for the submission. Yeah, that's for which is key here, because Pedro Munhoz, he's got 3 guillotines in the UFC and he's got 9 submissions overall, which is a fair old few. So that one might be worth putting on, but I don't think. I'd imagine the odds aren't very good on that. Like in my head, I feel like it's probably relatively likely, but it's also relatively likely to come off, so it might be well worth a go. But he hasn't fought in over a year, Pedro Munhoz, and that's a key as well. I mean, obviously Edgar's not been the most active either, but he fought more recently against Korean Zombie, and his last fight was also a loss to Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling, he's next in line for the title. There's no shame. Like, Aljamain Sterling is an elite level fighter, so there's no real shame in getting in losing there. But I mean, other than maybe like Rob Font and like a very small handful of other people, I don't see that Pedro Munhoz has necessarily fought the same calibre of competition that Frankie Edgar has fought over his career. But obviously Edgar's had the title, so once you get the title, there are no kind of gimme fights after that. It's all killers, right? And Edgar, to be fair to him, has held his own. And like I said, I think that the fact that he's 3-1 against, right, because that's the bet that I'm taking. I'm just taking 3-1 straight up on Frankie Edgar, because I think that he's got a chance in this fight. Now, I'm not saying it's definitely, because obviously Pedro Munhoz is a killer. He's only 33, and at 38, Frankie Edgar, that's very old for this weight class. Any weight class kind of below kind of 170, 185, when you get to your late 30s, that spells trouble, because the thing is, the heavyweights, they tend to go longer into their careers, because the last things to go are your power and your strength, right? The first things to go are your reactions and your speed. Unfortunately, Frankie Edgar relies a lot on those. And those they fall off a cliff like overnight, So just because, we may very well see Frankie Edgar get completely overwhelmed here, but I think he's got at least a couple of good fights left in him. I wouldn't mind seeing him make a run at the Bantamweight title, but like I said, call me a sentimental old fool, but I really like Frankie Edgar. I think he's had a great career. I'd love to see him get a strap in another weight class and then call it a day. So 3-1 on Frankie Edgar. Pedro Munhoz is a 1.36 favourite. That's not worth putting money on, is it? Do you know what I mean? That's crazy. Maybe the submission, like I said, I don't know what the odds are on that, but like I said, I'll have a look. I'll put them on the screen just so you can see those. And I just think that, so I'm taking Frankie Edgar 3-1 straight up, and also just because I like keeping those odds long, baby. I love those long odds. So Frankie Edgar by decision, right? That's like 4.5 to 1. OSP by submission, again 4.5 to 1. You put those together, and it's fine. Yeah, well, I put the £5 free bet on. 20.25 to 1. Right? It's well worth a free bet. I mean, that is unlikely to happen. They're both underdogs, and I've specified the method of victory on both of them, which is a big no-no. You don't do that. I say this every week. Don't specify anything. If you want a decent bet, fucking put all your money on Pedro Munhoz just winning, because that's more than likely going to happen. But me, I like to have a bit of fun with it. Like 3-1, I just think that those odds are ridiculous. I think Frankie Edgar's got a better chance than 3-1, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's definitely going to win, but I think that there's value in the odds there. And I think, we may see him look better than ever at 135. There are too many unknowables to make Frankie Edgar a 3-1 outsider. But Either way, I'm really looking forward to seeing it. It's going to be a fun night of fights, especially the main event as well, OSP against Alonzo Menefield. I've done another video on that. It should be coming up on the screen very shortly. And just let me know in the comments, like, subscribe, let me know what bets you've been doing. I'll be interested to know. And as always, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.